Hello from the Warsaw studio of Strong Women in IT. Here is Małgosia Grys on behalf of our community and to our community. Just in front of us, another webinar helping our community to get aligned today with the AI topic. AI as the new frontier, now, present, and the future. Let me introduce Anna Ziewalic, Managing Associate of GESSEL Attorneys at Law, one of our strategic partners in the context of legal aspects, and helping us to create and conduct the Women on Boards education story. Anu, the floor is yours, and I can tell you a remarkable context in front of us with two fantastic and very talented speakers. I'll stay with you. Good luck and have a great time within the next hour.
Thank you, Małgosia. Before you go, thank you for this kind introduction. It is always a pleasure to collaborate with you and with the whole Strong Women in IT team. Of course, which is an initiative I truly, really support. So thank you. Moving on to our webinar, as Małgosia stated, my name is Anna Ziewalic. I am Managing Associate at GESSEL Attorneys at Law. I specialize in providing advice to rapidly growing Polish technology companies, particularly in the field of dispute resolution. And personally, I am deeply passionate about intersection of law, technology, and business, which is probably the reason I'm here today. I am genuinely excited that today we are going to have this important conversation. We'll explore how the law is evolving to meet the challenges and opportunities brought by AI. Before we begin a short legal presentation, I would like to introduce you to our esteemed panelists, Ms. Karolina Mitraszewska and Ms. Dota Szymborska.
Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Just a few words about them. So, Ms. Karolina Mitraszewska is currently joining us in her new role as the president of the management board at PFR Ventures. I am sure that in this role, Karolina will be supporting Poland's most innovative companies. And she also has over 25 years of experience in finance and consulting, including her leadership at Nest Bank, where she was responsible for IT, AI, and digital transformation. So Karolina today brings a grounded and I would say business-like perspective to our discussion. Karolina, once again, thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you.
And joining as well is Ms. Dota Szymborska, who is Assistant Professor of Ethics at WSB Meryto University. From what I know, she lectures on philosophical and sociological aspects of new technologies, including AI. She is Poland's leading expert on AI and also a TEDx speaker. If you haven't seen her presentation, please do. And I am sure that Dota today will help us understand the ethical dimensions of AI. Dota, welcome. It's great to have you here. To start us off, I will walk us through some legal aspects of AI regulation. And then we'll dive into open discussion with our great panelists. Please note that at any time during the presentation and later on, each of you may ask us questions, We will see them and we will try to respond at once or later after the webinar. All right, let's start the presentation. Today we're, I would say, entering the new era where AI is testing the limits of our legal systems. We will examine how Europe and the US are working to redefine the boundaries of these systems. We can already see that AI is no longer a futuristic experiment. It is a defining force of the present. It shapes how we interact with technology, how decisions are made by governments, businesses, and in our everyday life. And yet, still, our legal frameworks are only trying to catch up with speed, scale, and impact of AI development. Today, we have three goals. First, I would like to compare how European and American systems are regulating AI. Second, I would like to highlight some shared legal and ethical dilemmas related to bias, transparency, privacy, and intellectual property rights. And third, I will try to encourage strategic thinking on how to build businesses that are at the same time resilient and ethical, and also compliant with relevant regulations. Let's begin with something of a bird's eye overview. As you know, the European Union is pursuing a centralized, risk-based approach to regulation. The new 2024 AI Act sets clear obligations depending on the AI system's risks. It also builds on previous regulations such as GDPR, namely General Data Protection Regulation. In contrast, when you look at the US legal system, it can be said that it is a patchwork system. So it is innovation first, sectoral, and mostly relying on existing laws. There is no federal AI law, but in 2023, President Biden issued an executive order which signals increased federal coordination of efforts to regulate AI. Despite these different styles of regulation, both regions try to address the same issues, from discrimination to data misuse. Our first key issue is algorithmic bias. Machine learning models obviously reflect the inequalities that are found in the data they are trained on. So they reinforce biases in hiring, lending, or filtering content on social media platforms. In the EU, these systems would be classified as high risk. This means that the AI Act mandates specific obligations such as audits, human oversight, and explainability. There is also Article 22 of GDPR, which gives people the right not to be subject to purely automated decisions, which may result in bias. US, on the contrary, has no dedicated AI bias law, but relies on regulators, such as, for example, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. They apply existing anti-discrimination frameworks to systems relying on AI. In this context, a widely discussed case is COMPASS. This was a risk assessment tool used in the US criminal justice system to predict recidivism, namely whether a given person would commit another crime. And after the case was investigated, it turned out that the system produced racially biased outcomes, meaning African American defendants were deemed to be higher risk than defendants of other races. So this case, to my mind, highlights how we have to limit biases and supervise algorithms in order not to have such unfair results in crucial social contexts. The second issue I would like to discuss is, of course, the deepfake dilemma. By now, we probably all know that AI-generated content is often indistinguishable from reality. You can think of voice clones, fake videos, but also AI-generated information, for example, newspaper input. It also is worth to notice that social media and media in general are driven by engagement, which means they spread the most controversial content. This creates real-world consequences from reputational damage to even influencing the outcome of elections. I hope that today we'll talk a little bit more about this during the discussion with panelists. We have different means of regulating this issue. In the European Union, AI Act requires synthetic AI-generated media to be expressly labeled. And another regulation, the Digital Services Act, compels platforms to remove harmful deepfakes. In the US, again, there is no uniform regulation. A few states target political deepfakes, and the Federal Trade Commission issues certain warnings regarding actions that are not recommended. A striking case in this context is the 2024 Biden robocall. Robocalls used voice cloning, imitating the voice of President Biden, to discourage voters from voting in the elections. This also, to my mind, shows how important it is to regulate so that we know that we deal with AI in real-life contexts. Another important issue, privacy and data protection. AI thrives on massive data sets scraped from the internet, social media, voice, and even camera feeds. And this input is usually collected without clear consent. In the EU, the GDPR contains certain regulations that should govern this issue. It requires clear consent, purpose limitation, and data minimization. However, it should be stressed that these rules may be unenforceable in practice when it comes to AI. For example, if you exercise your right to have your data removed from the AI system, it may already be too late because the AI model has been trained on this data. In the United States, protections are weaker and more fragmented. There are some state regulations, for example, the California Consumer Privacy Act. However, there are no federal equivalents. that could change because there is enough public pressure regarding this issue. The most striking case that I wanted to bring to your attention in this context is the Clearview AI case. Clearview basically scraped over 3 billion images from different platforms without users' consent. The EU fined them substantially, and in the US, litigation recently concluded with settlements. And our last issue, let's move to intellectual property. This is another legal hot zone for AI because AI, as mentioned before, is trained on copyrighted music, images, texts, and other input. In this context, we have two major concerns. First, training AI models on copyright-protected input, and second, who owns AI-generated output. While the European Union Copyright Directive allows text and data mining, it also allows the creators to simply opt out. This means that in theory, platforms like Meta or OpenAI should respect that opt-out and exclude such content from training the models. However, as you probably suspect, enforcement can be difficult, especially across jurisdictions. In the United States, this issue is not clearly regulated. Previously, in the US, it seemed that companies allowed on something called the fair use exception, but recently different publishers, the New York Times or authors, are now claiming that it should not be allowed, that this is infringement of copyright. Meanwhile, we can see in the media that prominent creators are fighting back. Scarlett Johansson won when she demanded that OpenAI does not use her voice in AI-generated demo. It was withdrawn. And for example, Elton John still fights in Europe, pushing back against AI's use of copyrighted works, including his songs. So what does this all mean to all of you, meaning both builders, innovators, and simply users of AI? To wrap up, I would like to stress 5 core practices that we recommend for any organization implementing AI systems. First, compliance. Obviously, compliance with applicable laws and regulations comes first. Second, proactive approach to identifying and addressing risks. Third, documentation of the systems. You should know and should be able to show how the models were trained, what data was used, and who has oversight. Fourth, transparency matters. As I have said, the user has to know that it interacts with AI or AI-generated content. And finally, human oversight. In most critical high-impact decisions, human oversight over AI should always be provided. I would like to close with a short quote attributed to Mr. McLuhan. He said that we shape our tools and thereafter our tools shape us. That applies to AI more now than ever. And I hope this will be some food for thought in our panel discussion. Let me just stop the presentation. And We are joined by our panelists. Karolina, Dota, can you hear me?
Everything's
Yes.
okay.
Great. So let's move on to our discussion. I have the first question for you. We have discussed briefly some methods of regulating AI all over the world. So first, Karolina, can you tell me, basically, do you belong to the camp pro-AI or against, pro or against regulation? What do you think?
So first of all, one more time, thank you very much for the invitation. Yeah, it's really great honor to have such amazing audience. As I appreciate Strong Women in IT for the long time, and this is the great community which I'm part of, and which I strongly support. I really also invite you to the open discussion, to the questions. Just feel free. In terms of my opinion, I'm from the very innovative industry, like banking is usually in front of the many industries in terms of innovations and the technology applied. But on the other hand, banking is also an industry where the data are the key asset, and they are only the asset if the customers trust the entity. Therefore, I'm the strong. I'm definitely strong for AI Act for the basic reasons. First of all, the only way I can encourage to innovation is trust. And trust is, in my opinion, based on the protection of the fundamental rights, so that our data are not manipulated, that our human rights, basic rights are protected, that we are sure that there is no social scoring of our behaviors and they are not used by the governments, that real-time biometric is not used because it could be very easily used against us. So all what is defined in AI Act as prohibited systems is very deeply aligned to my personal values. Also, the high-risk systems connected with our health, the recruitment systems, critical infrastructure, education, all these high-risk areas need to be properly protected. We expect high level of transparency in terms of data processing, storage, and this is if we not trust the process, we cannot we will not be involved. So I'm definitely the person who is pro AI Act, and my dream would be to have like the global regulation in terms of prohibited and high risk systems to avoid unhealthy competition in terms of these basic values. So if in China or US we will have different governance, it is really very easy to imagine, to have imagination about unhealthy practices and using and just migration of the innovation in the wrong direction to some geographical areas. And in the other areas, it would be great to have global best practices in terms of standards.
Well, I have to say I agree wholeheartedly, but before I say anything further, Dota, what do you think?
Okay, so first of all, thanks for having me as well. I'm not yet the part of the Strong Women in IT, but still plan. And I really appreciate that you start with the McLuhan quote. I think it's a nightmare for my students when I ask them what he thought about media and so on, but we will stick to AI Act. And it will be also hard to add something, but I will use my ethical perspective, and I think that, of course, I do support AI Act, so there will be no discussion about it. But it's not because I believe it's perfect. Definitely, it's not. But it's because it represents, I think, critical first step, which with ethical and legal implications. And I really lean toward the pro AI Act camp for several reasons. So first, it follows the traditional, and here I will move a little bit to Kantian deontological ethics, because I know that using Kant for AI Act could sound a little bit strange, let's say, but using this Kantian view, the individuals must have been treated merely as means to an end. So that's the reason that, for example, Article 5, which for sure you know better than I, could have 140 pages of explanation how it should be applied. So I think that AI systems that process, which was already mentioned, human data without sufficient transparency or safeguard risk instrumentalizing, people, it's a bad way. So the AI Act, I think, that attempts to address by introducing these risk-based categories. We are all aware of this pyramid of the risk, right? And obligations which are tailored to the context of AI deployment. And I think that, and I do not believe that regional regulation is enough. I think that we need like transnational regulation. Of course, it could be really difficult to create a regulatory framework. And here I would like to add that I'm often asked if the AI Act will make the Europe of the Europe AI and our application, it will slow down and that will be in the end of the world after China, US, and the rest of the world. And I would say that perhaps it could slow down a little bit, but I do prefer to live in the safe world. So I don't mind those old discussion, and I'm involved in the expert group in Ministry of Digital Affairs, and we really hardly try to recommend how we can use AI acts from the different perspective, not only from the legal, like you are an expert, or financial, but ethical as well. So I think it's okay. It's not because of me, but it's important that the ethics and ethicians are involved in this process.
Of course, from the times of Roman law, we know that ethics is basically the cornerstone of law. So that's why I tried today to show some universal problems, because whether we are in Europe, in the USA, or in other parts of the world, these risks will be the same. Of course, the issue arises, which you have touched upon, whether AI Act, may be applied extraterritorially, so to the companies that operate in Europe but are offshore. And I believe the only answer to all those challenges is to develop a common legal framework. And we have such international treaties in other departments, so I believe someday we will achieve it, or at least a code of general good practices. Because we all know that even if there are some international treaties, China may approach some values differently than the US. So this is always a negotiation. But AI risks are so new and specific that I believe they are really universal. Moving on from this legal discussion, Karolina, because you participated personally in implementing a new AI-based system at your previous organization, can you tell us how was it done? Were there any challenges? Can you share the experience?
Sure. In fact, in the financial industry, AI has the long history because now when we say AI, this is kind of okay. This is Gen AI and large language models. But AI started from machine learning, and in financial industry, in all companies I've worked before, it was deeply involved in the financial models for credit scoring, for personalized marketing, but also the simple chat communication with the customers is something which is deeply involved in the contact center communication with the customers. And it was with the financial industry from ever I remember. What is new is Gen AI and how we can implement all the opportunities connected with the natural communication with the customer, very user-friendly processes into the very modern customer service. And this is exactly what happened in my last organization, in Nest Bank. And for the purpose of our discussion, I have defined like 6 areas which, in my opinion, were important to proceed with this process in the organization under very strict compliance rules like bank. So first of all, I think very important is talent and culture. There should be very strong management board attention and support that people understand what is AI. There is agreement to safe implementation of large language models like ChatGPT for the employees to start to use it, to start to test it, to play with it, and try to implement it in the daily business processes, obviously under the safe environment. And without management attitude and attention, people will not do it by themselves, even because they just don't have tools. But also the management approach is very important. Talents are also important. This is my personal view. But in every business model, when you take the fresh energy from the different industries, it's really helpful. Hiring people to banking from the other industries, other sectors is not so obvious. But in my case, and both in Santander and Nest Bank, when we have created innovative teams, we have used the experience from the different industries, and it was very fresh view, looking out of the box was very helpful. The second factor was development approach. We decided that every project will be split into phases. We will start from MVP. When it occurs that MVP does not deliver value, we have taken immediate feedback and just modify the solution to target the expected results. Then we have moved to the basic solution, which was tested by the family and friends. And then every phase was more functionalities. But iterative approach, when you think about innovation, including implementation of Gen AI tools, is the only way to avoid high costs and not proper implementations. The third factor was data. AI is fueled by data, so you need to have the proper data management. We decided to move our data to cloud and to manage it via Lakehouse solutions, Databricks. And it was really like having the single source of truth, clear data structure, proper data, was the only way to trust the result after the processing of the data. And high attention was to start the process from the proper data management. The fourth aspect was the cloud. So both migrating of infrastructure to the cloud and then changing the way how we build the applications and systems was very important. First of all, because we have shortened the time to market. We increased efficiency. We moved into cloud native approach. And if I think about key advantages, it was like scalability and integration into AI models already embedded in the cloud. The fifth aspect was the operating model. Despite high understanding of AI opportunities, it was not so obvious for our business team how we can utilize these opportunities into the business processes, into the customer service. Creating of the ambassadors or the function who somehow aligns business needs with technological opportunities, technological capabilities of the organization is kind of a bridge which really enables the spread of the potential which is in the technology. And it was very helpful in Nestbank when we started with AI Assistant. And the sixth aspect was that the security and trust is definitely on the top of the moving forward with this innovation. That's why we have involved our cybersecurity teams at the very early stage of the developments. When we think about the DevOps team, it is already very common in many organizations that we have DevOps Sec team. So security is involved from the very beginning. Obviously, when we create squad which delivers the AI solutions, this is so good to have compliance and legal from the legal advisor from the beginning, just to make sure that we properly understand the rules. And the reality is changing, so our compliance rules needs to change. So developers, security, legal advisors and the business needs to work together, and then the only success is possible, in my opinion.
Sure. You talked about advantages. I was also curious about the risks, if you can tell us anything about it, because when you enter ChatGPT, you can have hallucinations, incorrect answers, copyrighted material, different issues, and this is banking, so a very serious sector. You had to manage all these risks somehow.
Obviously, you can. Sure. Improper information is one of the key risks, and obviously you may create the solution based on the predefined parameters, including the temperature and the level of interpretation. So you can make the parameters at the level, but just protect the hallucination. And this is what we have done in our processes. But when I think about the risk of implementation of these tools, a human factor was so important, as when usually in the organization there is the standard way of thinking, that when you automatize the process, you will reduce the employment. So how to make people trusting you, that all the innovation which comes into the processes, connecting with the customer service, is not only about cost efficiency, not about reductions, but about building the quality and the level of service which you really expect. Sorry, we made an assumption that our innovations in the area of AI are not made based on the business cases connected with the cost efficiency, and this is the risk which I would like you to draw your attention to. Just you may the way how we mitigate it are very different and dependent on the leadership style in the organization, but I would avoid the connection of the innovation connected with AI and the focus on the cost efficiency.
It's true. You know, in a world when every day we see newspapers saying your job will not be here in 5 years because of AI, this is extremely important. And of course, for employees of the banks too, because they are using intellect mostly. But I understand your argument that you can enhance customer experience and not necessarily cut people in the process, which I think should be our goal in general in the future.
Sorry, I just want to comment, because we just redirect the attention that you implement the better tools just to scale up your organization, to grow up, to go to the new markets, to go to the new segments, to develop better products. So in fact, when you better understand your customer, when you have better KYC, when you have better products, you may just grow up with your scale, and this is what I truly believe in. This is the reason I'm in the manager in the organization to build the organization, not to shrink it. And this was very much embedded in our processes, and this is the innovation which I really believe in, because just to create an innovation to save costs, this is not about the mission of the business.
Right, of course. You know, it is great that you can say from a personal experience that this is possible, right? So very hopeful for all of us to use AI and well, use it for the betterment of the organization and the people involved in it. Moving on to Dota, we have talked a little bit about possible advantages and risks. And I know that you, well, professionally deal with ethics by design. So can you tell us about how to use ethics to help businesses implement AI in the right way? Well,
Okay,
whether there is the right way, anyway.
Oh, yes. So that's a really nice time that I can say that I will be talking about human in the loop, ethics by design, and ethics, collaborative ethics, because in Polish there is no great explanation these terms. So let's start with. I'm not sure which one is the most important. So let's start from the beginning. So ethics by design, because I think it's still a stereotype that ethicians, they are just writing articles and thinking and that's it. But we are quite active nowadays in the market, and we cooperate with financial organizations. This is the really highly regulatory market, so it's quite difficult for us. But not only we prepare the ethical codes for many organizations. For example, university, we do have the ethical code how to deal with AI. But as you mentioned, this my favorite topic nowadays. I was speaking twice on Monday and Tuesday on conferences about this issue, because I truly believe that education in this level is really, really important. So what hides by on this really common use explanation for using ethical tools. So ethics by design, that's the idea that we should implement ethics in every level of working company, organization, institution as well. So we start I mean, for example, I work with the startups, so it's even for startups. So if you have any idea what you would like to organize, do, or sell, you need to start thinking if it will be ethical. And you should go parallel. One direction is if it's good for human beings, and if it's good for the whole world and our nature Earth. Seriously, because without that we will have a great system without fresh air or human beings aboard, right? So if you have the idea, check if it's ethical. Then there is the second level of applying ethics by design, namely you create something and you check if it's still ethical, because sometimes on the way from the great idea to the product, you lose somehow this ethical perspective. But it's not the end. Then when you check that the organization or product is ethical, or using AI in this let's say implementation is ethical. But you do not stop. You audit that. You audit after some time to check if there are any big changes which could force the organization, institution, or product to the different direction. Sometimes you just lose this ethical approach. So that's the ethics by design in few words. But we can move. I know that we are running on time, but we can just few mentions. I would like to say that there is the quite popular nowadays approach, and it's value sensitive design, which is like step forward after ethics by design. And this approach was inspired by Friedman and Nussbaum, and it let's say insists that ethical consideration must be embedded at the design stage, even more than the whole all two steps which I mentioned, and those stage of technological development rather than added in the end of the process. So. What's here and what's the most important steps? Here there was 6 steps in finance. I have only 5. So let's say that we start with promoting well-being, then we avoid harm, and then something which we started with is autonomy. So it's respecting human decision making. And the 4th will be ensuring fairness and equality. And the 5th will be the need for transparency and accountability in AI operations. And there was also the last term, which I would like to refer, not the last, almost the last, namely human in the loop. Karolina already mentioned it, that there is always, I hope always, human in the end of the decision-making process. Because as Anna knows from the legal perspective, there is still a fault or harm made by human, not AI, because we do not recognize yet AI as a partner of crime, let's say it like that. So this human in the loop, this approach, I think it's somehow hard to apply, because it's much easier to force all decision making process and said that AI made it, but it's not the AI. There are the data on which model was trained. There are the project made by humans still, and then there is the interpretation of data, because I mean human beings, we should be present in all those 3 steps, right? So data, analyzing, and the project of the model. So that's the reason that I'm a really big fan of small models which could be trained in the predefined, as Karolina mentioned, data set, where we use, instead of black box, box, which you mentioned, Anna, in your brilliant presentation, referring to the compass. That was this model used in US by judges. That there was the black box. You put something and you got result without any explanation. So in this case, we do need still this human to explain, but human will be only. Human could only explain if we will build the glass box and there will be the transparency of this decision-making process. I think that I can talk longer, but I know that we are running on the time. So just last sentence about collaborative ethics. That's something completely new. I mean, maybe not completely, but like 10 years old or something. Namely, we philosophers are dealing how to manage our relations with AI, how we should AI. Of course, there is a lot of jokes that be polite to ChatGPT because that model will give you the better answer, which is true, by the way. But and this is a waste of the water as well, also. But we nowadays are working from this philosophical, I think, the highest level of abstract thinking, how we should manage our relations with AI. And I will stop here because I think that there is plenty of things we should discuss.
Sure. You have touched upon so many questions. This is the broader subject of our relation with AI. I know that there are some firms who are providing psychological support through AI, or there are some ideas that AI could be used in other contexts, also in kind of an emotional relationship with humans. But Małgosia asked an interesting question. How to make sure that data clearance works in the business prior to fueling AI with it. Do you have any idea how to approach this from a practical or, ethical or maybe business perspective?
Okay, so maybe I'll just respond from my ethical perspective that it's really difficult, and we have to decide in which level we will enter, because it could be on the first level. I mean, the data and the structure of the data, the equality of the data. That's the first process. But then, like it happened in our Polish LLM. We had some problems with that, because even we know on which Bielik was trained, it was a little bit anti-Semitic, and sexist. So we changed it. I mean, my colleagues, not I, but they changed it. But there was this point, and finally we can also put some obligation on the model that it will not use the hate speech or something like that. Even using the data, the model would like to, if I can use this expression, would like to use hate speech. It would not be presented to the audience. So I think that there are three options on the table from my perspective.
Mm-hmm. Great. So basically, it sounds like we can solve this problem, right?
Right. Yes, if we wish, because I think that the question was deeper, because if we really and truly wish to change it, because somehow it could be useful for, as you mentioned in your presentation, those deepfakes, those let's say bad things which could happen when you use AI as well.
Right. I will move to another question to Karolina. I remember during our last conversation that we have talked a little bit about how social media shape our society and influence basically every aspect, including even the outcome of elections. And we were talking about this impact. So I was curious, what do you think about regulating social media platforms, how they use algorithms, Do you think we should do it, and can we do it?
This is great question if we can do it. My strong opinion is that definitely we should do it. But this is so difficult to balance between freedom of expression and potential protection from harm. But what you said, Anna, and I really love what Dota shared about ethic by design, which look, when we think about the influence of social media on a public discourse, it's so high. And for many people using the social media, this is very much not obvious how the algorithms are used, how they could be manipulated, and how their personal view could be very much affected but by what they see in the social media. So when I think about regulation, the key aspects which come to my mind are the algorithm transparency. Can we assure the regulation which just explain how content is ranked and why we see what we see in the social media? Can we be offered non-personalized feed? This is a very good question, because we say, okay, hyper-personalization is so big advantage of the AI usage. And I love the question of Gosia, that if the content is clear, if the data are properly cleared, then we have good content, but it is very much personalized. And can we say, no, I don't want to have personalized content? And this is a great question maybe to Dota. What does it mean, unpersonalized content? What is unbiased content? Unbiased by our opinions and by our previous choices. Another,
just to ask, I was just...
Yes.
Okay.
Please answer. You know, this is very interesting for me too.
Okay. So,
and I think for our, the community at all.
Okay, so I will use very feminine explanation of that. So I do love bags, really, and I really don't mind algorithm when it's recommending me a new collection or new sale and so on, and I really love it. But it's my decision, and I'm aware of that I allow this. For example, I use Safari for that and Chrome for the different reasons of research, but it's my decision. But the problem is that many people is not aware that they are in this bubble, that their data are used, that Meta is changing the policy, that there will be no fact checking anymore. And if you are aware what's the price to allow to be followed, that's okay. That's the list of my bags, right? On my one of the tool. But if I want to have a clear view and receive more recommendation, not just following the algorithm, I will put that I will do it anonymously. But from my perspective, is always an effort. So you have to put some effort to be aware that you are using internet and databases without these very helpful algorithms like in Netflix or another platform which is providing you movies. I don't know. I like the Japanese comedies. So, for example, Netflix knows them. So my short answer will be, if you are aware and it's your decision, it's okay. If you are not aware that whole feed in your social media is created because the model wants to sell something or influence your political decisions, that's really, really wrong.
And this is what I fully agree with Dota. So just to, you need to be aware that how you are tracked, and then you need to just agree or not agree for that. And if you not agree, the question is, do you have alternative in the form of non-personalized content? And another aspect for me was also data access for researchers. Just if academics society may have access to anonymous data just to study the social effects, as you mentioned, Anna, like elections, and
Karolina,
also accountability for harm.
I think it's a really huge topic because it's not only data, but it's the fundraising which we have to do and the funds which we got for
Yes.
the special research. So it's, I think, a much deeper question. We have to meet one more time, definitely.
Definitely.
Right, definitely. We have time for one closing question. So I will ask first you, Dota. On the whole, do you think the use of AI will make our world better than in the past? And I am directing this question to you also because you are aware of different dilemmas, situations. Authors, creators are in a particularly tight spot right now. We don't have the time to talk about it, but obviously, if you can go to a Drake concert created by AI and the hologram for a portion of the price, maybe you wouldn't see Drake personally. What do you think?
Okay, so question is world better if the world will be better with AI? I would say that potentially yes. That's the first and the shortest answer. But if I can have 1 minute more, I will add, but it's not so obvious. So I think that we can use Hans Jonas. I know I'm from academia, so I always quote somebody. So, but you started with McLuhan. So Hans Jonas said that the more powerful our technologies become, the more ethical questions will arise. So I will follow this idea of thinking, but I want to be positive, and I truly believe that the answer is not in the technology itself, but how we choose to design, use, and also live with that. So that's my sum up here.
That's an optimistic outlook that I share. Karolina, what do you think? Will the world be better for our grandchildren because of AI?
Dota, you said it in so beautiful words that it's difficult to say something more beautiful. I would say that exactly the same. AI is the tool which, in my opinion, I truly believe in it, may democratize happiness because this is a better, wider access to higher quality education. This is better access to health service. Health tech and how we diagnose, and more people can have access to the cheaper, higher quality treatment. Climate sustainability, we may really deal better with that thanks to AI. Safer societies, the list is long. The question is if we will use it properly. And I still believe in our humanity, really. We will do it. We will do it. That's why I focus on innovation in that stage of my career. I really want to make the better world.
Great. We will look forward to you as the new head of PFR Ventures. Certainly has influence on many innovative companies. So, shaping the world is not only a phrase in this context. Ladies, thank you for this important, curious discussion. We could certainly talk more. Karolina, thank you for sharing your business-like approach to implementing AI in banking. Dota, thank you for highlighting and helping us solve ethical dilemmas. The future is before us, so I truly believe we can shape the development of AI in a proactive way with this human factor in mind. Thank you, and I'm sure we will meet again.
Thank you so much.